Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August 14th, 2022. Hopefully, you're doing well. Hopefully, this finds you at a good time and a good place. As for me, I'm doing pretty good myself. Let's see, a little food corner for you. There are some updates. I went up to Northside, did Northside Hangs. I finally got to touch a PlayStation 5, so that was cool. My friend, he just got one, so we were just kind of hanging out for the first part of the night, and it's cool. It is cool. It's a lot of money, and I think you still gotta like kind of go hard for the weight or whatever, but it's definitely cool. I think the neatest part that I got to see was the controller. I was very impressed with it all like vibrates and like different parts and stuff. I was like, ooh, this is nice, very nice. And then plus just the motions sensor, it was pretty cool. I kind of geeked out a little bit. But yeah, food. We wound up going out doing some drinks. And now let me preface this because I did a little pregame while we were like hanging out, playing video games, stuff like that. And I got this like nice little like Rheingeist IPA. It was very nice, very good. And never had it before. And then I also had like Franz or whatever, their Oktoberfest beer. So good, humming along, getting a little cross-faded. Then we go out. I get like a PBR, whatever, chilling. I believe I also got a water, so we've injected a little bit of H2O in the equation now. Finally, yes, awesome, good, great. And I'm like, yeah, let's go get. And we finally were like, yeah, let's get food. So we go to Chameleon. That's my spot. If I'm down in Northside, I got the money. I got the munchies. I want to eat there. And we went, and it was great. I got hot wings. And I think they had like some kind of like ranch that was like kind of nice and fancy. Then I got fries, like Cajun fries with blue cheese. And then I got a slice of pizza. So I was eating big. I was big eating. I'd only eaten like donuts that day, like a couple of donuts, and so I was like, yeah, this is my meal for the night. Let's go. And I ate it. Pretty much all of it. I think I left a little bit of fries on the table, but I was like, ooh, oh boy, we did it. Then went out some more, hopped around some more, other bar, whatever. I wind up finally at home, and I tell you, I kind of knew it was coming. I just chunk it up. I just puked. I was so upset about puking the food up because it was good, but it was definitely one of those like rally moments where it's like, okay, I feel better now. I'm fine, and I didn't like puke the night away or anything like that. It was just like one good bleh. But man, still had a good time. All that considered. Then today I was gonna get a McDonald's breakfast, but they were too busy, and I have no patience. I'm going to, if the line's too long these days, I'm like, this is not worth it. So I wound up, going over to the local UDF, which is United Dairy Farmers, I guess for people who are not Ohio locals, Ohio Cincinnati locals. I guess it's maybe not even in the ring. I don't know, but whatever. I got a milkshake and a blueberry muffin, which is an odd breakfast. I definitely know, but I mean, you guys know I eat odd things at odd times, so it's not too crazy, not too wild for me. Um, but I think that about catches you up. All the fun stuff, all the cute stuff. We can do some news that happened throughout this week. Actually, there's an update, like a kind of like a breaking news happened today. Got this from the Insider. A man died after he collided with a U.S. Capitol barricade in fiery crash and started shooting into the air. Police. So there's not too many details in terms of like who the man is, what was his motivations, but essentially also Congress is not in session right now, they're in recess. But I think in the early morning of Sunday today, he drove his car and like barricades were like raised, but I think he like was able to try to like ram through them, but he crashed his car into said barricade. Actually, he doesn't like actually I guess get through it, but then he hops out and he starts shooting into the air. Cops are coming to engage him, and as that's happening, he just shoots himself in the head. So that's real intense stuff. Uh, One of those things that kind of caught my attention while I was, running errands and stuff today. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll talk about that real quick. If I hear any more, we'll definitely cover it. Give you some updates. But let's see. Story that developed over, I want to say, maybe since last week. I think I first started hearing about it, but there was finally like something a little bit more concrete too. So I was like, all right, cool. We're definitely gonna cover the whole thing then. Oh, gotta. Ooh. Okay, excuse me. Let's see. I got this from NPR. Let's see. The suspect in the killings of 4 Muslim men in New Mexico left a trail of violence. So, essentially, they have arrested Muhammad Syed, who is 51 years old, and they have charged him with the death of 2 of the 4 people they suspect him of killing. And I believe the logic here is, we're going to focus on these 2 first and foremost. And then, as long as those stick, he's going to be behind bars. And we can, round about and maybe get him for all 4. As opposed to trying to, get, all 4 at once. Sometimes that can kind of make things a little bit more difficult with law and all this kind of stuff. I'm trying to think if I can find the names here. But he does have a history. Him and his family had fled from Afghanistan. I believe they moved to Pakistan, and he had a job as a fridge technician. And he was living there for a while, and I guess his daughter's boyfriend was different type of religion, so they are Sunni Muslims. And the boyfriend was a Shiite Muslim man. And there was a day he pulled him out of the car and beat him up and then just drove away. So, I mean, that was kind of one incident that's, noted in this article. There's also another instance months later where he has allegedly beat his wife and attacked one of his sons with a large slotted spoon, and that left his hair blood-soaked, according to court documents. Now, the wife said, no, everything's fine, everything's okay, but the son was like, no, he's been beating us. And, that part's kind of key because you see up to kind of leading up to now, in this case, the daughter and the wife are both, the family itself are more or less saying, hey, we support him. He didn't do this. He's a peaceful man, even though it has been logged that he is not. Also, there's been, he's made statements, I believe. He's told detectives that he served with the Afghan National Army Special Operations Command. And he said he likes the AK-47 style weapon that police had found at his house. Because he used one in Afghanistan. Now, it is kind of alleged that maybe that's a little bit odd, a little bit fishy, that for his age, most likely he doesn't, it just doesn't line up. It just doesn't line up with the math, and then it just doesn't seem like, he doesn't seem like that guy, pal, type of energy. But he's they, I guess, had some expert analysis from a Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis, and he served 2 tours, in Afghanistan. And he says special forces guys are usually 22, 25 years old, maybe 30, because it's just so physically demanding. And that just didn't really line up with his age and the time that he would have been enlisted into this army. So, just a little bit sussy, but also showing, once again, more just kind of signs of violence. Really want to see if I can find the names. So, Syed is a primary suspect, but hasn't been charged in the death of Hussein, a 25-year-old man from Pakistan who was fatally shot on August 5th in a parking lot of a refugee resettlement agency in southwest Albuquerque, and the slaying of Muhammad Zaire Al-Mahdi, 62 years old, an Afghan immigrant who was fatally shot in the head last November behind the market he owned in the city. So let's see. The ones he is charged with: the deaths of Aftab Hussein and Muhammad Asal Hussein. Let's see. Hussein was slain on the night of July 26th after parking his car in the usual spot of his home. Afzal Hussein, a 27-year-old urban planner who had worked on the campaign of New Mexico Congresswoman, was gunned down on the night of August 1st while taking his evening walk. So, like I said, it's more or less split up between those four. And, the police at the beginning of this week, I want to say, or maybe end of last week, they came out and said, hey, we're looking for, any kind of leads. We want to, advise, shelter, just be careful, be aware. It seems like this person's targeting, the Muslim community. And it might be like a serial killer kind of thing. So it was very interesting to see where this is going to lead, where it's going to develop. And it definitely seems like it still is. Like I said, the family is, more or less seemingly, standing by by Muhammad Syed, but definitely does seem to, from I don't know, what I'm speculating that, it doesn't seem like this guy was really trying to do the right thing, stay on the, law-abiding side of the law. Also, I think they had caught him trying to leave Albuquerque, and he had said, oh, well, I'm leaving because of all these killings and stuff going on. I'm really scared. I'm worried for my family, stuff like that. So, definitely a little suspect, definitely a little sussy. But I want to cover that, talk about that. Let's see. I wanted to also cover a big, thing that's been kind of going on in Palestine. Yeah. I got the blurbles today. But I got this from the Associated Press. Ceasefire between Palestinians, Israel takes effect in Gaza. Now, I really just kind of wanted to bring this up to kind of get like a toehold in the conversation, really mention it. It has been more or less around a year since the last big war conflict took place between Hamas and Israel. In this situation, it seems to be between a different, kind of like more active, like fighting wise, sect, the Second Islamic Jihad. Now, they have been, I guess, upping up their attacks, aggression, at least according to Israel. And once again, I'm not like doing play-by-plays of this region. I wish I had the time, but I'm just kind of getting what I can from articles. But essentially, Israel has kind of retaliated. They wound up killing their commander, Khalid Mansour, in an airstrike on an apartment building in the Rafah refugee camp in southern Gaza. And this was late Saturday. And not this Saturday, but like the previous one. Also, the truce that was settled was brokered by Egypt, who has also, been on the side of Israel in terms of like saying like, hey, we're gonna be like doing some sanctions and blocks. You guys can't be doing all this, and this is more or less against Hamas, but any kind of militant fighting, they're going to be against. They're going to be anti. They're going to consider it terrorist acts. They're going to clamp down on it, fight back against it. But Israel has kind of brokered a peace between the two. Now I don't know how how that's holding so far, but I know Israel was prior to, definitely trying to clamp down, trying to, do strikes and all kinds of stuff, very highly active. I believe the latest total, which I got from another article from the AP/Yahoo News, I believe the total was 49 dead Palestinian peoples. And, there's a lot of injuries. So, let's see, yeah. 49 dead, including 15 children, 4 women, and 311 were injured. And this is from a Palestinian health minister, or from the Palestinian health ministry. So, let's see. Israel said some of the dead were killed by misfired rockets on top of that. Honestly, though, I hate to say it, but it's really hard for me, especially, after everything that happened with Abu Shakle, to just kind of believe any kind of reports that come out, whether it's an accident or this or that. It's just really hard. but they were definitely on a clampdown. And now the Second Islamic Jihad, they were trying to fire rockets back in retaliation. Most of those rockets didn't really do well. They were intercepted by the Iron Dome. Some even landed in the Palestinian area and just did damage there. So that's definitely not what you want. Now Hamas hasn't really been involved in terms of being aggressive. In fact, they've been trying to do what they can to clamp down on that on this side of the conversation, because they're trying to uphold the agreements that were made from last year. That I believe there was 1,200 permits granted, and I think they are trying to get it to like so that there can be up to like 2,000, and these are work permits for people to come into Palestine or come into Israel and work and make more money and have a more sustainable living, and that's very important. It's one of those things because the situation with Palestine like has just become like more or less a client state to Israel, even though Palestine was just there first. They're in the situation where it's like you have to kind of barter for scraps and do what you can, and that's why you make these fights and these pushes to kind of get these concessions. Now the Second Islamic Jihad, they want more, they want to do more, and that's why they are doing what they're doing, but to not great effect. At least it's all from what I'm gathering. So once again, obviously this isn't the best coverage on the subject. I don't think any of my few fellow listeners come here for exactly that, but I do like to just kind of talk about it, put it out there. And, it's also hopefully an opportunity for me to learn. And, if you guys have any input or things to say, I'd always love to hear it. I always get a good kick out of that in terms of just, it's nice to sit down and see other people's perspectives and see what they've learned and what they have to say. And, hopefully I can get a good takeaway from that or add to the conversation. Who knows? Let's see. We can move on. Got some more from the old Yahoo News. Yahoo. Let's see. Actually, this is straight up from the Yahoo News. Oh, no. Also, I believe this is from USA Today, too. At least where you can find the video of the elevator incident, which we'll maybe cover really quickly. But let's see. OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny arrested on murder charge 4 months after boyfriend's death. So, let's see. Courtney Clenny, who I believe goes by Courtney Taylor on social media, she is being charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon, and that's according to Hawaii Police Department. Essentially, her boyfriend, who is Christian Toby Abumseli, he, I believe, does like cryptocurrency, stuff like that. But they've had a history of like domestic disputes, things of that nature. In the video that they show, it's them in their Miami apartment. Also, the two of them, I believe, started their relationship in Texas and then moved to Miami, Florida. So, but in this elevator incident, you can see Clenny, who is clearly, flustered, upset, and she's just more or less wailing on Omseli and just hitting him. She's trying to pull his hair. She's like just trying to, rile him up. I don't know, get him to do something or just beat him no matter what. I don't know what the reasons are. There's no audio, I believe, from it. But you see him just kind of have his arm up, more or less try to defend himself. I think there is a part of it where he like doesn't like violently push her back, but just like pushes her away from him. And then at some point it's enough that he can get out of the elevator and leave. So there's that incident, but essentially from the other side, Courtney is saying like, hey, this was an act of self-defense the night that it happened. Essentially, I guess there was some kind of altercation and he goes to choke her and she, from what the lawyer says, meets force with force and has a knife and stabs him in the chest with it. Now, after that, she goes to a rehabilitation center for a few days, but then she is later spotted a few days later, I think it's a grand total of 5 days, at a hotel bar, getting drinks. I imagine having a good time. So all of this is definitely looking a little suspect. Not too great for her, but she's been charged with this. Naturally, people, the family are glad that the wheels of justice are finally turning. But the question is like, well, what if this was just a black couple, like just two black people? Would this have just gone smoothly? Would the wheels of justice turn normally, quickly, or or is this a privilege thing? You know what I mean? Because of the situation, like, would you have actually, if this is a black woman, actually took the same amount of time to really, I guess, do your diligence, or let her do what? Like, I don't know. So it's definitely a bit of an odd case. I was hesitant whether or not I wanted to even cover it, talk about it, but something like kind of kicked it forward for me. I was in a Discord, and I've actually wound up leaving this Discord because I get sick of hearing some of the shit from some people and some of these fucking things. But someone wound up mentioning this case, and they're like, "Oh wow, looks like someone's finally doing something about these like sex workers or something like that." Like, more or less inferring that, like, yeah, it's crazy that they're finally getting around to doing something about a hot woman who actually like is trying to get away from murder. And it's just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, it's just, I hate incels is more or less the long short of this tangent. I get very frustrated being in communities of people, and mind you, this is supposedly supposed to be a group of people who just play Magic the Gathering, just doing nerd shit. But next thing you know, they're moving like Margie Taylor Greene in this bitch. I don't know. I just find it annoying, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna cover this for my podcast just to kind of put it out there, because I don't think that that's what this is about. I do think this is about a murder, and someone, either in a either you can say self-defense, whether it is a moment of passion, revenge, rage, whatever. I don't know, but hopefully we can get to the bottom of it either way. I hate the weird kind of just fucking shitty ass like extra narrative people try to put on shit because they once again cannot get laid and don't know how to talk to women. But speaking of women, I want to talk about an amazing woman and give some flowers. But I want to take my little smack break first. Whoa, yeah. Okay. Ooh. All right. Now, the main article is from Vogue. Now, essentially, it is from Serena Williams. Like, she's talking about her retirement and, really, like, just giving out her thoughts and, like, extrapolating on it all. But I got a condensed version of it from CNBC. But essentially, she's planning on retiring right after the U.S. Open, which is going to run from late August into September. So it's crazy. I guess the title I can use here: Serena Williams announces her retirement from tennis. I know for me, Venus and Serena Williams were just titans of the game growing up. I remember loving seeing representation of black people in tennis, a black woman in tennis. From me seeing it was like that, it was seeing Tiger Woods. It was a big deal. So them making the transition into what they're going to do now off the court is going to be very, very interesting. I do like her quote. She said, "I've never liked the word retirement. Maybe the best word to describe what I'm up to is evolution." And there's an interview that I believe Vogue does, I believe. And she kind of equates it to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And they laugh. And they're like, everyone's laughing. And she's more or less like, at some point towards the end of the laughter, she goes, "I know you guys think I'm joking, but I am serious." Like, that's kind of what it feels like. This is what it means. Like, but I don't plan on, calling it quits, more or less. And it is cool to see her. I know I butchered that quote. I wish I had it like actually like front and center. But overall, she's just amazing, moving from strength to strength. It is cool to see that Nike is going to continue to back her. have like, ad campaigns, stuff like that with her. I imagine some of her other big brand sponsors and stuff are going to stick with her too. So there's also another quote. There are people who say I'm not the GOAT because I didn't pass Margaret Court's record. Oh, excuse me. Oh boy. Record of 24 Grand Slam titles, which she achieved before the Open era that began in 1968. Now, the Open era more or less was like at that time only, I believe, white women could compete against other white women. It was very just more narrow. And now all people of color can play and compete, which obviously opens up the sport completely. So to say this person who is like kind of like has this is just an asterisk more or less by her. So more or less in my mind, Serena's the best out. She is the GOAT. Like people are just kind of just trying to hold out just to be critics or assholes in my opinion. But she continues. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want that record. But as she kind of goes into in the article from Vogue, she really expresses that it's like I have a family. Like my daughter would like to have another sister, a brother, whatever, and I want to continue my family, and I know that the timing is just very sensitive. And she also goes in to say that it, especially for her, who she is as a woman, as a black woman, like there are just certain just standards set and met that it's like she knows that trying to juggle it all just wouldn't even look good, and like that wouldn't feel good either. And it's just one of those things where she's like, I want to actually take the time to move into that phase of my life. So I get that, totally understand that. Also for me, I think it's just cool sports news and some good news to find. It's nice to see someone really see their career, from A to B to C, yada yada yada, all the way to Z. So, like I said, strength to strength. I look forward to seeing more of whatever Serena Williams does, and I wish her the best on the court for her remaining matches, and hopefully she does make it happen. That'd be a sweet, sweet, sweet red. But that's about the end of it. We're here. We've made it. Looks like we made it. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully you have an amazing week. Hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. And I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.